This is the Brisbane Lions Fancast with Dom Fay and Michael Whiting.
It has been a very, very long pre-season, as it always is, but we've finally arrived, Mike. It is game week.
Finally, can't wait, Dom. I mean, we got a little sneak preview with 4 games in the AFL last weekend, 5 this weekend, including the Lions against Hawthorn. Doesn't get much tougher way to start your season, does it?
It doesn't. We'll be right into this one head on, I imagine. It's going to be a very interesting match on Saturday. Just before we get to that, we are recording this on Tuesday afternoon. Great news with Jack Redden re-signing this morning. Also, great news with your birthday today. Happy birthday, Mike.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you.
But yeah, so was Redden's re-signing a good way to celebrate?
Yeah, it was. He's one of my favourite players at the club, Jack, so I'm glad he stayed on for another couple of years. And it's his 6th year at the moment. That'll take him to 8 years at the club. So, I guess we'll see what happens in a couple of years, but he's getting closer towards being that one club player, and he's such a glue to that Brisbane Lions midfield. So, great news for the club, and terrific to have Jack on for a couple more years. And
there'll be more to come, no doubt. By the time this is out, there probably has been another announcement, and obviously every player who recommits is just another vote of confidence in the direction the group is taking, which is a good way to turn our eyes straight to round one, because you're going to need to be a group who's very cohesive and going in the same direction if you're any chance against the best side in the competition.
Absolutely. What we saw on the weekend, I think this would have given the Lions fans hopes. The results from last weekend, GWS with maybe the biggest surprise in recent memory, beating the Sydney Swans, but Brisbane's going to have to put on a performance similar, if not better, to beat Hawthorn, because they are a machine and they have not shown any sign of slowing down in the pre-season. But I think Brisbane's team is reasonably settled. I mean, we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of that shortly, but I think the fact that they've had a couple of games together, the last 2 games of the pre-season was quite a settled lineup, and I think the round 1 team will be quite similar. So that's got to help Brisbane. They're slowly getting a grip on what Justin Leppich wants and expects from them. So it's a very, very tall order, and I think it's a struggle to see Brisbane get over the line, but we saw some crazy things on the weekend, so you can't rule anything out.
Yeah, you're looking for signs of weakness in Hawthorn, and there's not many to be found, to be entirely honest. They've had a flawless preseason. Alistair Clarkson has just recommitted for a further few years. They seem to be going completely fine without Buddy, if early indications are anything to go off. So, I mean, it's not going to be a kind of situation where I think they're poor. If we're going to win, we're going to have to be exceptional.
Absolutely. We know the strength of their midfield. You touched on Buddy there, no Buddy, but they even showed when he was at the club and unavailable through injury or suspension that they could work around that, and that they'd almost prepared for life after Buddy. They've got Jared Roughhead, Jack Gunston, David Hale or Ben McAvoy now, whoever the resting ruckman is. Luke Bruce down there, Cyril Rioli. There's all sorts of options to go to for that Hawthorn forward line when they're all up and going. So they're a terrific unit all over the field. That's why they're the premiers, and that's why they've been there and thereabouts for 5 of the last 6 years. So you're exactly right. Brisbane's going to have to play at their absolute peak to give Hawthorn any sort of run for their money.
Yeah, exactly. The round 1 team is always a very interesting thing to take note of, because it seems to be the core of the side that doesn't change too much throughout the year that gets named to round 1. I mean, you have a few ins and outs each week, and by the end of the season, you might have a side that looks relatively different to the start, but the start is really where the list is at now.
You're right, and that's what every player in the pre-season will say, I'm aiming for that round 1 team, I want that round 1 team, and that's exactly why you point there.
Yeah, because it's much easier to, I think, stay in the team than to get in the team.
Yep.
So we'll kick it off with a few people who are, I suppose, on the fringe in discussions now. Personally, I think we both agree that James Aish is all but guaranteed of making his debut.
Unless something goes wrong at training this week, there's no doubt he'll make his debut on Saturday. He's had a very good pre-season. He was a high draft pick, so get him straight in there and let's see what he can do.
Absolutely. I think the most interest comes from the forward line. Now, there's a few options up there.
Still the headaches, Dom. Still the forward line headaches.
One day we'll be sitting here and saying, how do we fit all these amazing forwards in? But that day is not quite yet, because it's not. I suppose there's a few who have shown very promising signs. McGuan has had a great pre-season, but there was some doubt, I believe, about his knees at some stage, and he's had a virus this week. Do you think he'll play?
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be putting my money on it.
Right.
I saw him with a bandage around his knee today, which was Tuesday when we recorded it, and he's been listed as having a knee injury. There's still not sure to what extent that is, but I think 4 days before round one, there's got to be a big question mark over him. We might find news in the next day or two, but I think there's got to be a big question mark over him. He didn't train on Monday. He had a bandage around it on Tuesday, so I guess there's a question mark, which if McGuan doesn't play, it's certainly a hole in that forward line, because he has done well in his couple of pre-season matches. Not only been able to kick goals, but he's been able to put that forward defensive pressure on in the forward line that Brisbane so desperately wants to try and hem that ball in there.
Obviously, the main question is, does Brown play?
Well, I think he does now.
Really? You were sceptical last week.
I was very sceptical last week, and that was mainly because of the way Justin Leppich had spoken about it when posed the question. I heard Lepper speak 2 days out of 3, I think it was, and he wasn't very committal on either occasion, then saying that the Lions wanted to do the best thing by Brownie. They didn't want to set him up in round one to fail almost. They wanted to make sure he had enough run in his legs and enough game time. And obviously there's been no extra game time between that Swans match and round one. They've only been able to go off training. And I watched the Lions train on Monday, and I thought Brownie was a little bit scratchy, which you'd probably expect. But I think he trained with the top team. He trained in position at full forward. I think he's going to play there. There's no Brent Staker. There's a question mark over Luke McGuan. I think it's just best to put Brownie in the forward line, let him get his match conditioning through the seniors. And, it's ludicrous to me to think that you could have him running around in the twos to get match conditioning. So
I feel sorry for whoever the needful defender who has to line up on Jonathan Brown is, if that's
I think
the case.
You've just got to back the bloke that's been there and done it for 14 or 15 seasons to find his way into form, and that he'll be able to contribute something. He'll take Hawthorn's best defender, and so I think he'll play on Saturday.
Well, the main point of interest then is Close, or is it Lyle, or is it both?
Well, I could be proved to be absolutely way off the mark here and stupid, but I'm pretty sure Michael Close will play. I think he's had a good pre-season. I saw him training alongside Brownie on Monday, so if that's any indication, I think it's a good one for Close. But I think it's going to be close, and I think Marco Paparone might play as well. My gut feel as we speak at the moment is that it'll be Brown, Close, and Paparone as your key forwards. This is still hinging on McGuan. We don't know to what extent his knee injury is, but if he doesn't play, I think Close and Paparone will both play. I could be way off the mark there, but I've just from what I've seen in training and in the pre-season matches to date, I know Justin Leppich is a fan of Paparone and wants to get him in at some stage this season, and I think it could be round one.
Now, obviously, there's a few things that I suppose have almost been assumed knowledge over the pre-season. One is that Trent West is a lock for the round one team. Is that still the case?
Absolutely, yep. He'll definitely play round one, so he'll share time with Matthew Leuenberger in the ruck, and when that ruckman needs a rest, they'll either go forward or they'll go to the bench. So I think that's what also allows the chance for Paparone to play forward, because there's an opportunity for Brown, Close, and the ruckman to play forward. That's 3 big targets as it is. So if you've got Paparone as that hit-up man, and he's very, very, obviously we all know his reputation as being one of the best runners in the club, so he can run up and down the flank if needed. So he's got a bit of flexibility there. But West is a lock, and speaking to Matthew Leuenberger on Monday, he's rapt to have Trent West there. He can't wait to that 1-2 rucking punch against oppositions. Leuenberger himself said that he knows it's far tougher to play 2 ruckmen than it is to play 1 ruckman and a pinch hitting forward. So he can't wait. So I think that's as good a endorsement as any, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one player who I would imagine isn't going to be lining up on Saturday, and it's a bit of a surprise as to what's happened to him, is Rowan Buick. Now, Buick was, I suppose, a best 22 for the past few seasons, for the most part, under Michael Voss, but seems to have not played any preseason games and seems to have almost fallen out of calculation, for as I see him as quite a dangerous forward. What do you think may have happened with Buick?
You're right. I don't really have an answer for that, because he's a guy, I'm a little bit like you. I think he's got plenty to offer. He's got that run, can take an overhead mark, and he's kicked goals. He's been a reasonably reliable goal kicker. I'm not sure whether it's a case of Paparone potentially going past Buick maybe not training as well in the pre-season, or whether Justin Leppich just thinks other players are in front of him. I still think Buick's definitely got a lot to offer. He's shown that over the past 2 or 3 years, but I don't really have a definitive answer on why he's seemingly slid down the pecking order a little bit.
Yeah, well, someone who will have a very big role ahead of them on Saturday is Daniel Merrett. He will be on Jared Ruffhead, and he'll be joining us on the Fancast right after this.
The best way to keep track of everything Lions is to head to lions.com.au. It's the first place to find the latest Lions news and videos, get the lowdown on upcoming games, results, and player stats. There's also great ways to interact with live chats, downloads, and Player of the Year voting updates. And with a social media hub, you can connect with all the Lions social media activity. Lions.com.au. Everything Lions, all in one place.
We're joined on the Fancast today by obviously the one of the figureheads of the team, Daniel Merrett. Welcome to the show, Dan. You ready for round one? You're excited?
I am excited. I suppose when you start running around in November, it seems a long way away. And looking back, we've had a pretty good preparation. We're feeling pretty positive about coming up against the premiers from last year, and it's going to be a tough task down at Tasmania, but I don't know. I don't think we could have done any better for our preparation. Our training's been really consistent, so I think we've given ourselves the best chance to have an upset over the Hawks.
Mate, I know you'll say it's a great test and a great challenge playing the premiers first off, but gee, the AFL's dealt you a hard card, haven't they, with Hawthorn down in Launceston first up?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the reigning premiers in their home away from home in Tassie. But man, you just take it on, don't you? It's you play footy because you love it, and it doesn't matter where, doesn't matter who. And yeah, I think the boys are really excited to get away as a team, get down there, and I don't know. Footy's a funny thing, as you can tell from the weekend. Anything can happen.
A lot of footy pundits and I suppose the footy public in general have almost written you guys off this year. There's talk of bottom four, even some talk that in contention for the wooden spoon, which obviously to those of us more clued in on the club and realise where the club's at sounds completely ridiculous. Has it been bugging you and the rest of the team that you're constantly being, I suppose, spoken about so negatively in the media?
To be honest, you think as a player it's perfect because there's no expectation on you, and yeah, it gives a little bit of fuel in the belly to fire you up, to show them wrong. So if no one expects much, well, that suits me fine. I think, yeah, it's all about the performances you put on the field, and that's where we're going to do most of our talking. So, yeah, been a little bit of negative noise outside the club, but I know the boys have a lot of faith in each other, and yeah, I know we'll definitely play for each other this year and won't let stuff like that affect us.
Dan, you've been at the club 9 or 10 years now, and I guess there hasn't been a lot of success in that time. That you've been to the finals just that once in 2009. What have you seen in this pre-season, and do you think that lies ahead that gives you confidence that Brisbane can return to the finals in the not too distant future?
Yeah, it always happens when you get a new coach, so there's a freshness and a bit of a buzz that comes along with that. But I just like that the main core of our group stuck together. Jack Redden's just signed on for a couple more years, and yeah, he's definitely a nucleus of our team. And yeah, I just think there's a maturity about us, and I think we drafted really well this year too. So there's definitely signs that we're definitely building. And what's going to be different about this year, I think there has been so much inconsistency in our training, and it always correlated to our games. And I think we've got a pretty good core group of experienced players now that maintain the high standards of training, and it's been very consistent, I would have thought, over pre-season. So that's where I've seen our improvement this year.
Just in terms of who you think you'll be lining up with in terms of the other key defensive position, obviously the two main candidates are Goose Maguire and Justin Clark. Do you have any feeling on which way the club's going to lean more this year? Do you think it will be more towards the youth of Clark, or a bit of alternating between the two?
Yeah, I think probably where our list is at and where our club's at, you'd see them going for the younger option to try and develop that. But it's not bad to have someone like a Matt Maguire sitting there waiting to come in, who you know what you're going to get from him every week. But I just think, yeah, my gut feel is that they'll go with Justin Clark and really trying to get some games into him, because he's a really good lockdown defender, and he's just going to keep improving the more games he's out there.
Just a quick look back to this weekend, Dan. You'll be facing Hawthorn without Buddy Franklin, probably maybe the first time in your career at the Lions. I guess you'll breathe a bit of a sigh of relief there, but probably means you'll have to stick on Jared Roughhead for most of the day. How do you see a matchup this weekend?
Yeah, it'd be definitely a different look. I know, I can't remember, if we've played Hawthorn without Buddy, but they've got that many guns, Hawthorn, that it doesn't really lessen, making an easier day. I think Roughhead's, turned into an unbelievable player. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, 1 minute I'm playing on him and then next minute he's in the midfield running around and playing off a wing, and you almost find someone to tag him all over the field. He's an unbelievable player. And they always have that resting tall down there, and then Gunston as well. They've just got, guns everywhere. So generally my role down there would be play on the deepest. So whoever that is, I would try and hold that position, and then, we'll just try and get the best possible matchup.
Just before we let you go, one last one. Can you confirm for us then that the Ford project with you is dead and buried, and that you are now a defender for life?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You never say never. I was kicking them pretty straight out of that training, but look, I would say so. I think my best position in the team is at fullback, and to have your best fullback playing in that position, I think, I think that's the way to go, and it really just steadies. I feel steady down there, and I feel like it steadies the team a bit with me playing down there. So I'm looking forward to the challenge because, every week there's always a gun forward to play on. So, I just can't wait to get out there this weekend.
Well, we'll always have 5 1/4 against GWS. Won't forget that one. Well, thanks for joining us on the Fancast today, and all the best for round 1. Hopefully you guys can cause an upset.
Let's hope, hey?
Of course, this week's round 1 clash is against the reigning premiers, Hawthorn. It's down at Aurora Stadium in Launceston. 3:40 start for Queenslanders. If you're further down south in daylight savings time, that is a 4:40 twilight game. And we've said it for a few weeks now. We've emphasised it in this show, Mike. It's going to be almost mission impossible.
Almost mission impossible. It's about as tough a first up match as you can get. I'd love to be proved wrong, but I think I don't think the Lions will win on Saturday. I think the best they can hope for is a super competitive performance, and one that doesn't leak a lot of goals in a hurry. So I think Hawthorn will get up by 5 or 6 goals, and I think that'd be a good result for Brisbane.
Yeah, well, I've been a very reasoned, sensible pundit all pre-season, as you've noticed, much more than my usual self. Lions by 2 goals. So throwing that right out the door. I got a feeling on this one. And James Aish will win the Rising Star nomination for round 1, I reckon. This is my tip. I don't know entirely if it's the GWS win that's filled me with faith. I don't know if it's I suppose a reevaluation of the stocks of our list, but I'm confident. I've got a feeling this is going to happen.
This is why this show has its little semblance of working, Dom, because we're so different.
Well, we'll see who's right next week. If it is Lions by 2.
I'll be happy for you to be right.
It's going to be a great game either way, and we'll be back here next week, and we'll look back at the Hawthorn game then. It's been the Fancast. Bye.
See ya.